before I even get into what Ronda had to say. The fact that there was any kind of doubt or this idea that, oh, WWE was the best place for women. It was a utopia, an oasis where women could be women. This whole facade that WWE cared about their women's wrestlers. They do now. But back then, unless they were showing skin or doing certain favors, the women were secondary. If that, I can't even say they were secondary. They just didn't matter at all. And that is something that should be addressed, that should be talked about. And I'm not saying it was never talked about. It's one thing for a Jacqueline to talk about it, a Terry Runnels to talk about it, a Sunny, Jesus Christ, Tammy Stitch. Let's not get into that one. Any kind of disgruntled female wrestler who were, let's just say, featured in certain ways in WWE. Bra and panties, evening gown, you get the drift. But in their minds, they felt like it was degrading. It wasn't maximizing their full potential. And in some cases, they were right. But it's one thing for them to say it. Then it's another thing for a rowdy Ronda Rousey, a woman who main evented WrestleMania. Let me say that again. This is a woman who main evented the biggest wrestling event literally in the world. The last match, the face of that event, with two other women, by the way. That would not have happened if she wasn't on there. You don't have to like Ronda Rousey, but you have to give her credit. She brought a ton of notoriety to the women's division, to women's wrestling. Especially for that first run. This is someone who at one point in time was called the baddest woman on the planet, the best female fighter in the world, undefeated, bantamweight champion, UFC, featured in movies, still featured, still considered to this day a huge Hollywood celebrity. It's one thing for your regular, everyday, average wrestling fan like me to say these things, but it holds a lot more weight coming from someone who at one point I could basically argue was the face of WWE. And so for her to come out and say these things, it means a lot. And actually has a lot more weight and a lot more impact. And I want to say, first off, when it comes to Ronda Rousey, how I feel about her, it's the tale of two runs, honestly. When she first came in WWE, I thought she was one of the best things about wrestling. In 2018, that tag match she had with Kurt Angle, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon, I'll say it, that was the best match of WrestleMania 34? That was 2018, right? 34. Best match on the entire card. Better than the main event. The main event was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. I did not give a damn about that match. Horrible match, by the way. Ronda's match stole the show. Rightfully so. Let's keep this in mind. During that run, the WWE did something that they've never done and will most likely never do again. Hey, it could still happen, but the likelihood of it happening is very low now. They held an all-women's pay-per-view on the back of Ronda Rousey. WWE Evolution 2018. Now, it did very low buys. Not a lot of people watched it. And honestly, this is 2018, so buys don't really matter. I would probably have to say viewers. Not a lot of people were subscribing to the network, I suppose. But what they were hoping to get out of that show, what they got was way below their expectations. So the likelihood of that happening again is very, very rare. Not saying it won't, but still, We got an all-women's pay-per-view because of Ronda Rousey. And yes, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and all the other women to add more meat to that pie, especially the women on NXT. NXT in 2018, oh my goodness. I will argue with anybody that NXT in 2018 was better than anything the main roster had. Period. Still, that wouldn't have happened if Ronda wasn't there. And she did a great job with that women's championship. Her match against Charlotte Flair, Survivor Series 2018, I've gone back and watched it multiple times. Phenomenal match. I like it more and more every time I go back and watch it. No match that Ronda and Charlotte has had since then has come close. That match was all kinds of awesome. And then, of course, the main event, WrestleMania 35, which should have been Becky versus Ronda. I remember their face-off. Their face-off on Monday Night Raw. The energy. The way the crowd reacted to it. That was a moment in time. You don't even have to be a hardcore wrestling fan. If you would have watched that segment, the most misogynistic kind of wrestling fans would have argued that needs to be the main event of WrestleMania. Now, they threw Charlotte in there, which was a mistake. I love Charlotte, but she should not have been thrown into that match. Period. It was not her place to be in there. It should have just been Ronda versus Becky. And even now, that's a missed opportunity. They never got back to it. We never got a one-on-one match between Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, which would have been massive. Massive. That first run was amazing. Her second run was garbage. Phoned it in. And when we get into these excerpts that we read from her book, you'll understand why it was phoned in. Ronda did not want to be there. You don't even need to read any of her books or listen to any of her interviews to know it. Just watch the run. Watch her. You can tell she was just going through the ringer. She was just going through her usual basic routines. She didn't care. It was all about the money. And I love Ronda. I have zero issues with Ronda. I don't agree with her political takes. I think she's a conspiracy theorist, and a lot of her conspiracies are like out of this world crazy. But I think ultimately, she's a good person. She wants everybody to do well. And so I can overlook what she said about Sandy Hook, which is stupid, by the way. There was no conspiracy theory about Sandy Hook. Those kids were killed. A mass murderer went into an elementary school and killed children. There's no conspiracy about that. I can overlook it because I've seen enough of Ronda and seen her do enough good things to go, well, she's not a bad person. She's just ignorant. Or it could just be one of those situations where she's deliberately being stupid to please certain people. But who knows? I'm not going to get into that. That's not why we're here. How I feel about Ronda personally is nothing but admiration, respect. And it could just be the fact that there's a lot of things that she likes that I like. She's an anime fan. She's a video gamer. She had a YouTube channel where she was doing video game reactions. I don't really have an issue with her. But I will say, the investment that WWE made into Ronda, even now, I feel like they did not get the return on it. I'm not saying they didn't get a return on Ronda. I do think that first run did a lot of good business for them. More than they thought they would get. And probably could have done a lot more with the right booking. That's what's scary about Ronda's first run. She was working with a Divas division that was barren. Yes, you had bodies, but you didn't have stars. You didn't have characters for her to work with. Imagine if you took a Ronda Rousey and put her with a Trish Stratus and a Lita and a Victoria and, oh my goodness, a Tori Wilson, a Stacy Keibler, where you had all of these top-tier women with an Asuka at her peak, with an Io Sky, with all of these women, especially nowadays, where we're now developing the characters and the personalities and stories with these women. Oh my goodness, she could have done a lot more. But she was never given the materials and the resources to really maximize her return. And so what ended up happening was that ultimately, and it should never be this way, Ronda felt like everybody else. She felt like your average wrestler, which should never be the case. Ronda Rousey is way, and this is just my opinion, Ronda Rousey is way too talented. She had way too much star power for her to just feel like everybody else in the main roster. But for some reason, somehow WWE managed to make that happen. And so ultimately, I feel like they never got the return on her investment. They just never did. And so when you read these excerpts from her book, I did get a chance to listen to a couple of her interviews where she talked about it as well. We'll look at those excerpts as well. But the new book is called Our Fight, and it was written by her. But in this book, she talked about the struggles that female wrestlers faced in WWE over the last few decades. And look here, when you read this stuff and you hear this stuff, I guarantee you, most of you are going to go, yeah, I can see that. I don't think there's anything that she's going to say that's going to make you go, what? No way. I guarantee you, everything she says, you'll go, well, yeah. But again, it comes with more substance, and it feels a lot more important when she says it, because she at one point was arguably the face of WWE. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, just a couple of things she said here. Says here, WWE loves to do well-produced video segments about the legacy of women within the organization, but the truth is women have largely been footnotes. Yeah. Again, you hear that and you go, yeah. For the longest time, continuing, they were regulated to serving male characters in a valet role, an overly sexualized supporting character that takes cheap shots when the referee isn't looking. Yeah, Terry Runnels, Lita at one point, Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, Kelly, over time, as the level of female talent grew and society as a whole started to shift, the organization gradually expanded the role of female wrestlers. Gradually, ooh, that's an understatement. The WWE bills itself as a sports entertainment organization, and just like in the mainstream entertainment industry, there was, by all accounts, a casting couch culture, where men backstage in powerful positions pressured female talent for sexual favors in return for airtime. Look, if you thought that wasn't happening in WWE, you're going to be surprised when you hear these other female talent talk about what they had to do to get TV time. And let's just get this straight. This is not just exclusive. She said it. It's not just exclusive to WWE. This happens everywhere. Certain cheerleaders had to do sexual favors to get on cheerleading squads on the football teams. Certain female actors, oh my God, actresses, had to, please the producers, the executives, directors to get more lines, or for them to change the script, or to even get on the movie. To even get an audition, to be auditioned, they had to do sexual favors. Don't get me started on child actors. Oh my God, I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, she's right. Unfortunately, that's still happening today. We just don't see it. Let's continue. There were so many public accusations and scandals, it's hard to keep track. And more that I'm sure that the WWE managed to sweep under the rug. There's a lot of things we don't know. Even the stuff with Vince McMahon that we've heard, that NDA with him doing certain things to a certain woman in a threesome, and then doing other things to her through text messages, that's just one NDA. He's had several over the last decades. So that should tell you there's a lot of sweeping under the rug happening in that company. Continuing. Women weren't just being demeaned backstage, but center stage. Up until 2007, bra and panties matches where female wrestlers won the match by stripping their opponent down to their underwear were an actual thing. God, I'm sorry. It's just... I feel bad. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I wasn't into that kind of stuff. I mean, back when they were doing it, how old was I? Like 12, 13, 14? Again, it drew ratings. Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler, Dawn Marie were literally outdrawing the men in those segments because they were showing skin. Sex appeal draws. But the fact that it was that extreme, like thinking back on it, oh my God. So it wasn't even a wrestling match. They weren't pinning each other. There was no kind of athletic prowess or recommendation for athleticism. It's just get naked. God. Or not even get naked, get close to getting naked. Man, yeah, that's a bad look. It's also a bad look on society because that's what drew. Continuing. Even after that gimmick was retired by WWE executives, I'm sure very reluctantly and with a lot of lamenting about political correctness, clearly, it was still clear that the organization placed more value on a woman's physical appearance than her physical ability. To be fair, they still do that nowadays. I mean, again, it's not just exclusive to WWE. Any avenue of entertainment, you're gonna have women that get more TV time, that get more notoriety, that get more publicity, that get more attention. Those women who look better, who have sex appeal, who have certain assets about them, they're gonna get more than the average woman who just, no matter how talented she is, who just looks average. That is an aspect of life that is unfair, and it will remain unfair. And it's not gonna stop in 2024. It will still be happening in 2030, and 2040, and 2050, just like it was happening in 1999, and 2000, and 2005, and 2010, and so on and so forth, and 2007. Sorry, it's not changing anytime soon. Pretty privilege is a thing. That doesn't make it right. I do think there are certain female wrestlers who got completely shafted because they weren't pretty enough. Like a Gail Kim. And it sucks. One of the best female wrestlers ever. And she's gorgeous, for the record. But she wasn't pretty enough, or she wouldn't do certain favors to get on TV. Let's continue. The Divas era, with its pink rhinestone butterfly title belt, dawned around the same time. I love that. Rhinestone butterfly title belt. Women, while now portrayed as wrestlers, were still expected to look a certain way. Think lots of makeup, little clothing, and huge boobs. Nikki Bella. What? What do you want me to say? The Bella twins got over because of sex appeal. Okay, good. Nothing wrong with that. That's just what they've known. That's what they built a career off of. Doesn't mean they can't wrestle. They've had their share of solid matches, but for the most part, they got over because they're hot. They are. What do you want me to say? Who do you think she's talking about when she says little clothing, huge boobs? It would take almost another decade, years after I proved women could be a huge combat sports attraction, before women truly started to get time in the squared circle. And it was only after WWE was basically armbarred, love that, into it, following a global social media backlash to give Divas a chance, after Divas were given a total of 30 seconds. Less than it takes for most people to read this paragraph for a nationally televised tag match. This video is longer than the actual match. I remember that match. Paige. It was Paige, I think the Bella twins. It was some type of PCB versus Team Bella. I forgot which one it was and who was in the match, but I remember that match. An absolute embarrassment. Did she even name them here? It says 4 women were given less time to collectively wrestle. She didn't name them, but it says 4 women were given less time to collectively wrestle than every single man on the roster got for his entrance. For his entrance alone. Presented this information as a person outside of wrestling, out of the wrestling world, you might draw the conclusion that there is a troubling, foundational sexist, patriarchal culture within the WWE. You would be right. 1000%. Because that's what it was. A lot of misogynistic men who only saw women as objects for sex. That is Vince McMahon, Bruce Prichard, and Kevin Dunn's WWE. I had nothing but respect for the female wrestlers who paved the way for women, and nothing but disgust for the amount of sexist, degrading bullshit they were put through. Oh my goodness, it's horrible. But she's absolutely right. And again, it's called Ronda Rousey, Our Fight. The book is actually out on Amazon. I might actually link it down below, but this should come as a shock to nobody. The people running the show only saw women as sex objects. Which is sad because a lot of men who watch wrestling did the same thing. The culture has changed 100%. Well, it's changed a little bit. There are still men nowadays who only see women as sex objects, but it's a lot less. There's more equality going around. And there's nothing wrong with sex appeal. But again, when you do it to the extreme, it's never good. And it got to a point where the people running the show wouldn't even bother, wouldn't even dare to see a woman in the same light as a man. The only woman that I have seen during my time that was billed as someone that could believably beat men was China. That was the only woman I've seen. Were there others? I'm pretty sure there were. But I've only been watching wrestling since the 1990s, so China's the only one. Not even Trish and Lita were built to believably beat men. And now, Rhea Ripley might be the next. Now, she's fought men before, and she's picked up and slammed men. And so she has the aura of someone who could beat up men and potentially win men's championships. If they do that with her, awesome. But it's rare that we see that. It's rare that we see a Rhea Ripley, a Ronda Rousey, or a Chyna that could dominate a male sport in the way that they have been portrayed to do. And I can't lie to you, I don't expect to see that more often. Because I still think we live in a society that sees women primarily as sex objects. I mean, think about it. The world's oldest occupation is a concubine. Women who get paid for having sex. That is how society has seen women since the beginning of time. Is it right? I don't know. Probably not. So, if you expect things to be different going forward, my friend, you have another thing coming for you. This is a battle that women are going to have to fight probably for another century or so. But progress has been made. And progress will continue to be made to a point where women are seen and treated on the same level as men. Will we get there 100%? Probably not. But still, progress has been made, and I'm so happy that nowadays we can actually believe a woman could main event WrestleMania. It took a lot for us to get here. We can see a woman main event a pay-per-view, a Monday Night Raw, a SmackDown, with the right story, and of course, the right opponent. If I was to say Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill with main event at WrestleMania, you would go, yeah. A SummerSlam, yeah. Those two especially, I believe, could carry a pay-per-view for WWE. And they're women. Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, main event night winner of WrestleMania 37. Yeah. It deserved to. Huge match. Not just because it's two black females, but because it was two of the best wrestlers. I'm not even going to say female wrestlers, but two of the best wrestlers in the world at that time. They just so happened to be female. It took a while for us to get here. But we're here. And it's unfortunate that Ronda Rousey came in during a time when women weren't seen at that point yet. I do think her contributions helped us get to this point, but I still feel like a lot of what she's saying is still there. Even under Triple H, there's still some issues happening with the women. Will they get better over time? 100%. And I feel like under Triple H, there is a conservative effort to really iron all that out, to weed all of that crazy misogynistic shit out. Personally, with Vince McMahon gone, with Kevin Dunn out, and hopefully with Bruce Prichard leaving sometime soon as well, hopefully sometime soon, things will get better for the women. They've already gotten better with Vince being gone. And now we've seen a lot more women get a lot more TV time, get featured in ways that don't require them to be sexy. You can still be sexy, it's not required now. That's the big difference. Now they're just getting opportunities to tell stories and be good characters and be good wrestlers and draw the same way the men can draw. Some of them might not succeed. Others will. Rhea Ripley. But this is how it should be. And hopefully over time, Ronda's vision of what the WWE should have been and our vision of what WWE should be will come true. I just hate that she came in during a time where it wasn't a reality. And I hate that it soured her on professional wrestling. Well, at least WWE, the WWE culture. Because she straight up said she ain't never going back. There's that word, by the way. Never. What do I say about that? Never say never. Never say never. You never know when you'll go back. Now, Ronda Rousey, I can guarantee you, I don't mind saying this, she will be back. Ronda is the kind of person that I feel is a completionist. When she sets out to do something, she's not someone that can be okay with not completing it. So she will be back. I think she'll have one more run before she goes into the Hall of Fame. It won't be a long run. It'll be like a year or so. But I do see her going into the Hall of Fame one day. And she should. So I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. If she does come back for one last run. It won't happen anytime soon. Let me read these last few excerpts that she did in this interview with CageSideSeats.com, where she talked about the end of her run with WWE and dealing with Vince McMahon. She says here, I just didn't want to be Vince's action fucking figure anymore. I felt like I was like doing custom matches for a fucking sicko in the back. All power to the girls that keep fighting for the good fight. But I'm in my mid-30s now. I've got shit to do. He was never gone while I was there. He was just phoning it in through Bruce Prichard. My agent who works at WME Endeavor, he was telling me, you know, he's completely gone now, I swear. And I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it because everyone said he left before. He never left. He was there by text message. Yeah, she's right. We've heard that before as well, where it's like, he's gone, I swear. And then it just came to the fruition where it was like, yeah, he's still there. He's just running things from the back. And then she tells this story about Aaliyah. And I'm going to paraphrase this one. Bruce Prichard basically told Aaliyah that nobody likes her. That all the women in the back can't stand her. And it broke her heart. Mentally damaged her. Overwhelmed. Completely in tears. Liv Morgan got word of this, and one time Ronda was training with women. I think it was during the Performance Center routine or something like that. During one of their training routines, Liv came up to the women and said, "Where's Aaliyah?" And so everyone was like, "What's going on?" And so they went to go search for Aaliyah, and then they heard that everyone hated Aaliyah, and they were just like, "What? Who said that?" So they confronted Bruce Prichard about that, and he was like, "No, I would never say that. I love Aaliyah." And then everyone knew then it was like, this son of a bitch. Can you believe this guy? That is the kind of culture that they were dealing with. Yeah, I 1000% understand Ronda Rousey saying I ain't never going back there. Hell nah. Who would want to deal with that? I love this story too that Ronda mentioned about Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair's WrestleMania 39 match. It says here, they weren't supposed to go that long. The whole time the referee is telling them to go backstage, Charlotte threw her big dick on the table and said no. I love that. We're going to do this awesome fucking match. And that's what the women are dealing with. They're not allowed to show how amazing they are because, oh, the crowd's going to be tired for the guys' match afterwards. That's bullshit. It actually was bullshit because of all the matches that I felt should have gone long, that one deserved to go long. And it was awesome. I had a long sit down with Triple H and I was like, I can't be associated with mediocrity. And that's what they seemed to be happy with at the time. I hope that's different now, but I can't say that I've ever experienced it in any other way. And that's why she says she will never be back. Now, she has nothing but utmost respect for Triple H. She even says here, Triple H has been great towards the women in the company and really believing in us. He's the whole reason that I was there, because he believed in me. I really wish that was my last run. I really wish my last run was under Triple H running things and Vince being gone. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. Now, could it happen in the future? 1000%. And I hope she does come back to have one more run under a Triple H, under an umbrella where the women have stories, have characters, and we get to see Ronda truly shine. But that's only if she has the passion to do it. I don't know. I feel like Ronda's passion for wrestling has hit an all-time low, if not completely just petered out altogether. And that sucks, because she grew up a wrestling fan. So it's never good to hear that. But it's always good to hear her speak the truth about Vince McMahon, Bruce Prichard, and the misogynistic culture in WWE. Well, not just WWE, wrestling. Is it better nowadays? Yes. Are there still issues? Yes. Are we making progress? Yes. All that can be true. But again, it's important that we know about this so we don't repeat it. You know your history so you can avoid it in the future. And for this history to actually have weight behind it, you need people like Ronda Rousey speaking out. And so I'm so happy to see her and hear her speak out about this. And I think going forward, it's going to do a lot of good things for WWE. And not just WWE, but WWE, AEW, professional wrestling, period. It is okay to have sex appeal. I'm not saying we have to do away with sex appeal. What I'm saying is women deserve an opportunity to be showcased, to be given the stories and the characters to get over as much as the men. Are there going to be more women who get more TV time, who get more opportunities than the average woman? Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Rhea Ripley, Bayley. Yes. There are going to be some issues, probably the same type of structure, the same type of favoritism that the men get. There is no such thing as a perfect world. Is it better than what the women were given 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Yes. And to me, that is what matters. We are in a better position for the women than we were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, especially in 2007. Oh my God. And with Vince gone, that predator, with Kevin Dunn who hated women. This is the kind of guy that would say, I don't want her on TV because she's not sexy enough. Oh, Becky Lynch? No, don't give her TV time. She's Irish. I can't understand what she's saying. And they would listen to her, and he would literally have an influence on their pushes, and then they would stop getting TV time. because he thought they weren't sexy. I'm happy he's gone. Bruce Prichard, causing mess. I hope he's out the door next. Because these people are being weeded out and we're having a much more supportive culture with the women under Triple H, things are going to get better. It's going to take time, but things are going to get better. And I'm excited to see what the women have in store for us going into the future. But thank you, Ronda, for speaking on this. Please continue to bring truth to power. Speak truth to power. Because only through doing that will things get better. That's all I got to say. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great day. As always, do all the YouTube things. Like the video, subscribe, and click that button to catch all my content when it comes out. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and donate using PayPal, Patreon, Cashapp, and Venmo. I'll catch you guys next time right here in Alyx's world. The place that is, was, and forever will be a safe space for wrestling fans like you. Until next time, peace. When you're when you're